0 plus sign squiggly line box star. The 1971 remote viewing from the moon experiment using Zener symbols or Zener cards, depending on how you're looking at it, by Edgar Mitchell, who's an astronaut. He reported after the fact that 2 of his test subjects on Earth performed worse than chance, and 2 performed better. But this is the Texas sharpshooter thing, so we only pay attention to differentials that are interesting. And then we add the pluses and minuses to each other, so 4 subjects came up good. Nobody would let him get away with that. Anyway, 2 of the message recipients got 25% of the cards right. Out of how many recipients? You might want to look that up. But he used 5 symbols or numbers on each table. He didn't use symbols. He used numbers to create a random setup, and then chose randomly the symbol sets in the table. Anyway, chance guessing, if he wasn't cooking it unconsciously, which is a big problem with humans selecting things randomly, would be 1 in 5 or 20%. And the recorded guesses on Earth were made before he actually did the trials and created the number sets to create the symbols to concentrate on. So when he found out about that after getting back to the Earth, he decided to change the goal of the study to precognition, because having a study that has completely garbaged data would be a waste, because he couldn't go ahead and reproduce the study, so he just decided to make it about what it came out as. And it still didn't do much better than random chance with 1 volunteer. Now there's a bunch of jokes about this, but when you're doing these kind of experiments and you say you're being scientific, but you're just going to cook the results, you just do the Texas sharpshooter analogy and just pick the best results instead of the rest of them that were below, that were worse than or at expected random results. Here's what he said. And this is a quote, and I can't find a copy of the original paperwork, but I'll include it. If anybody wants to, you can include it. But you have to include one that hasn't been altered so that it will make psi, look good. To generate 4 tables of 25 random numbers, just using the numbers 0 through 5, randomly assigned the Zener symbol to each number, which means he's selecting, it's not random. For each transmission, I would then check the particular table of random numbers and then think about the corresponding symbol for 15 seconds, not looking at a symbol, which is what is required. Each transmission took about 6 minutes. Previous experiments with Zener cards were discredited due to the following problems. The discovery that sensory leakage, otherwise known as cheating, could account for all of the results, such as the subject being able to read the symbols from the back of the cards or seeing through them. So somebody didn't do the basic thing of making a scramble pattern on the cards, or just making it to where they can't see the cards. Being able to see and hear the experimenter and note subtle cues from the person holding the cards that they might unconsciously be given. That's why you don't do these things. And this is the problem. When you get rid of all of the variables that allow you to cheat subconsciously, while screaming loudly you're not cheating, all of the miraculous abilities disappeared. The null hypothesis for this, of course, is if there's no psychic ability is assumed, each card selected for testing is chosen truly random, you'd have to do it by shuffling, and they couldn't see each other, the user's success ratio would be approaching 20% as the number of trials increases. A short set of trials will give you miraculous results. And the other thing that they catch them doing is as soon as they get a positive result that matches, they stop the experiment, because there we go, we got 100% dead bang proof, more than 20%. And then after the fact, if you do more trials than that, like this, you only count the successes and ignore the failures. Astronaut Edgar Mitchell was involved in an experiment that was rigged. I have no respect for this, and I don't have to. And if he was still alive today, died recently, I would tell him to his face that he cooked the results. This is not just a poor example of how to do a science experiment. This is the typical experiment, typical outcome, and typical behavior of people who are trying to prove something that is not provable. They will feign an interest in scientific method or processes or procedures, but they will break the rules at every freaking opportunity in turn and then bitch you out for pointing it out. And then they say it's alternative science and that they should be treated with respect. And the one or two people you can find on YouTube or on the internet that say, well, we've had positive results and here's all our results, didn't allow anybody to even try to reproduce the results. Well, you have to be a believer. So all of this is based on believing in something and maybe cooking the results. This is the reason you don't allow pseudoscientists to do science experiments, because they will fake it. Fake it till you feel it. This is not really a peer review because I'm not going to go through all of the paperwork. This has been peer reviewed by other people, but everybody on one side of the now pretty much politicized movement of this ignore all of the defects in the study and try to salvage it. Why? Why not just do a better job of it? You don't have to go to the other side. You can just go to the other side of the planet. We can do that sort of thing. You arrange a time, and each of you pull out a set of cards and concentrate on one card at a time for a minute and see if you transmit psychically. Get two twins to do it that believe. If they fail at it, they have to publicly state, we can't do this. They can't do an agreed upon thing because someone who doesn't believe will shuffle it. This should null out any belief factor. The stupid part about this, and I'm going to state this factually, is that it is worth experimenting with to see if this is something that happens. Because many people report stuff like this. We just know that our sister or brother or kid or mom is in trouble and we go running to them because we know it. But then again, maybe we do that a lot and nothing's going on. How many of you remember the times when you thought something bad was happening and it really wasn't? Do you actually make note of it, or do you just make note of the time that it worked? Texas sharpshooter analogy, Edgar Mitchell, Zener symbols or Zener cards from the moon, 1971, a failed experiment. Circle plus squiggle box star. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.